if you're working with a cubic polynomial, it's really not all that often that you would run into this precise form, right? The difference of two perfect cubes or the sum of two perfect cubes. Usually if we're working with cubic polynomials, um, and the whole reason that we're factoring, anytime we're solving a quadratic, a cubic, right, things like that, we factor in order to set each factor equal to 0 when we're solving the equation involving that polynomial. And later in the semester, I'm going to show you a way to solve equations using the graphing calculator rather than solve using factoring or some other method. So anyway, what I'm saying is that being able to factor difference of two perfect cubes or the sum of two perfect cubes probably is not all that important. Like you could have a successful mathematical career and not know how to do this. But what is important is being able to be presented with a formula and plug in and follow a formula. That actually is an important skill that you'll use quite a bit if you continue in math. So I'm more interested in you learning to follow the formula than I really am in the fact that you know how to factor the difference of perfect cubes or the sum of perfect cubes. So anyway, if I were to test or quiz this, I would give you the formulas. Okay, I don't expect you to have these formulas memorized. If you want to know the truth, I don't have these formulas memorized either. So anyway, in letter A, the way that I'm setting this up right now is I'm helping you to clearly see what's your A and your B in the formula. So we're going to be using this formula, difference, for letter A. And I wrote it like this so that you can see that your A would be X and your B would be 2. All right, and then from here, what we have to do then is plug in to this formula. So the formula tells me that the factored form in letter A, take A minus B, so that would be X minus 2, and then square A, multiply A and B, 2X, and then square B. All right, and that would be the final result. Okay, and this wouldn't factor any further because there are no factors of 4 that add up to give me 2. So this is as far as I can take this when it comes to factoring it. So in letter B, take a minute to determine what's your A and what's your B. Okay, and obviously in letter B, we're going to be using this formula here that I just checked off in blue. All right, so take a minute and decide, what's the A and what's the B. All right, and I hope you decided that the value for A should be 3y. Okay, so A is 3y and B is x. All right, so I'm going to write that up here. A is 3y, B is x. Okay, and then we just plug in. So this tells me that in order to factor this, I do A plus B. Then I have to square A. Make sure you square both the 3 and the y. Okay, it's the entire quantity squared, so that would be 9y squared. And then I multiply the two of these and I subtract, right? And If you write 3yx, that's fine. It's just more common to put the x before the y, and I have the commutative property that says I can change the order on those if I want. And then finally, I add that to b squared. So x squared and end parentheses. So please pause the video and try C and D on your own. So please check your answers to C and D right here. If you're correct, stop the video. If you had trouble, I'll give a little bit more explanation to these. So probably if you struggled, you had a hard time identifying your A and your B. Okay, so I always start off writing like this, and then I list them right out. Right, so A is X, B is 5. Okay, and then you just do what the formula tells you. Okay, so it was A plus B, there's A squared, subtract, A times B, and then plus B squared. For letter D, in identifying how you have a perfect cube, so this is why a few days ago, a few lessons ago, I had you write a list of perfect squares, perfect cubes, so that you would be relatively familiar, so that when you see a number like 64, you could be reasonably familiar with the fact that that is simply 4 cubed. Okay, so this is showing how I get the difference of two perfect cubes. And then my A is 4x, and my B is 1. Okay, so one warning, when you go to square A, you have to make sure you square both the 4 and the x. Okay, but otherwise we're just plopping them into that formula and following what the formula tells us to do.